Good afternoon, everyone. This is Caroline from Speak2Go, and welcome to our short webinar. We're going to keep things to maximum 30 minutes. I'm going to run through everything very quickly, but I'll introduce you to the thinking behind Speak2Go and show you the platform and our new reporting. So, welcome to Speak2Go. I say it repeatedly, Speak2Go is a complementary solution to help teachers who are teaching English. It's not a replacement for the teacher, it's not a replacement for the books you use, it's something that complements everything you and the textbooks do, and it does so within the remit of the rubrics for teaching and learning from Misrad HaChinuch. So why is it difficult in particular to teach the spoken language in the classroom? The biggest hurdle for teachers is the teacher to student ratio. It's just not possible teaching 30 students how to speak. Each student progresses at a different rate. Each student comes into your class with a different level of confidence, a different ability, a different background knowledge. It's one of the hardest things to do. There are other applications for independent learning that you can use to improve spoken English, but they don't work with the curriculum. We've mentioned student levels, time available. It's just in a lesson, you just can't spend sufficient time with each student in order to help them with the pronunciation that they need. And student confidence is a big thing. Speaking up in class, speaking up in front of your teacher, who hopefully all students look up to and respect, speaking up in front of your peers is not easy. We've all been there, we've all made mistakes orally, and every time you make a mistake, so one mistake takes a long time to overcome. The beauty of working with Speak2Go is that each student sits with their headphones on, with their own computer or notepad, whatever it may be, and works independently with a technology that knows them and understands how they speak. There's no problem making a mistake. What does a mistake mean? A mistake means that the feedback the student sees is coloured in red, but the student can then listen to their pronunciation, listen to the narrator's pronunciation, and try again and again and again until they are happy with the results that they are getting. So there's no issue of confidence with Speak2Go. It's all about building clear speech. Just very quickly to look at point 2. Clearly someone on the Speak2Go team has a bit too much time on their hands. One of my colleagues worked out that if you have 25 kids in a class, which I know for you, many of you would be a blessing, and you had a full 60-minute lesson where you were working for every one of those 60 minutes, as a teacher, that would still only give you 2.4 minutes per student to work with them on their speech. It's just not sufficient time. And as we all know, classes generally tend to be bigger than 25 kids, and a 1-hour class is not really a 1-hour chunk of learning time. So time is a real issue. Okay, so what have we done at Speak2Go? We have taken the chomer that you teach your students, we've taken the rubrics, we've taken the topics, we've taken the vocabulary, we've taken the grammar rules, we've taken everything that you need to teach your students in order to get them through the education system here, and we have put it into one very, very nice, easy to use application. Content is relevant, and it is all focused on improving speech, on building confidence and improving the way our students, our children speak. At Speak2Go, we currently have 4 ministry-approved products. Our oral book product is exceptional. Teachers are saying it's what's needed. It's a way to actually allow the students to practice building strong answers for the oral book. We are going to be running individual webinars to talk specifically about the oral book, about Speak Now, and about our program for middle school. So please keep an eye on the website. Speak Now was a project that we did in partnership with the publishers UPP. It's part of the Keep Talking program, and it's a great way to take your students from middle school into upper school and to push them towards the oral book, teaching them the strategies, the vocabulary, the topics, the language that they're just going to need in order to not quite sail through the oral book, but really do the best they can. My favorite product is the intermediate level product. You can see all the bands are listed here. That's CEFR B1. It's that first level of learning, it's that tough move the kids have when progressing from elementary school into middle school. All of the vocabulary is from band 2, and it's got 8 units that cover all the topics that you find in the different textbooks. And preparing for intermediate it's a slightly special product. It's targeted and approved for year 7 and year 8. But what it does is it recaps. It goes over everything that you want your students to know and to come to class with based on what they should have learnt in elementary school. So it goes through all the band 1 vocabulary, it introduces the easier band 2 vocabulary, but it's CEFR A2B1, and it's a great program for just giving kids a push and bringing them up to the level that you need them to be at for middle and high school. And those products are all ministry approved. Okay, so let's take a quick look at Speak2Go. What I'll actually do is I will log on and show you how everything works. Now, when you go into Speak2Go, you can see a little ministry owl, and I'll show you how to use that in a minute. So everybody can just log on with their ministry credentials and see some sample Speak2Go lessons across all of the 4 products and have a little play in the privacy of their own home. But Speak2Go is not just about the technology and the platform, it's about helping teachers. So we have some very good and very useful teacher resources. Our lesson catalogue, it's a glorified spreadsheet, but it's an excellent way to actually look at each of the products and understand what's being included in each lesson. So for example here, you see intermediate product. If you look at the tab at the bottom, I'm looking at Unit 7. I'm assuming I'm progressing through the year. I want my students to practice use of the future tense. And you can see that you've got 7.1, the big secret, space travel. You can see which Speak2Go parts are included in each lesson, and I'll show you an example of all of that. And then you've got all of your vocabulary listed. So if you're working on a chapter in a book and you want to look at sort of specific vocabulary like designed, predict, invent, and so on, you'll find it here, and you know which lesson is going to be a nice and comfortable match with what you're teaching in class. And we have one of these tables for each of our products. The other thing that we have are very detailed teacher's guides. They explain the background to Speak2Go, they explain the performance of Speak2Go, and they have some great tables. So here again, if we just go down, you can see Unit 7 is future technology. And I apologize for doing this it's not going to work. It hasn't downloaded. But let's just have a look here and see what you can see. So if we're looking at Unit 3, our environment, it just breaks things down into a little bit more detail so that you can understand exactly what you've got in each of those lessons. They're a great resource for pairing up Speak2Go lessons with class lessons. All right, just heading back to the Speak2Go page, www.speak2go.com. Now, if you click on the owl, you go into this lovely page. You and your students can put in your code and your password, and when you enter, you'll go to the Speak2Go page with some sample lessons on it. Everybody using Speak2Go gets a personalized Speak2Go password or login, or uses their ministry code, but everybody logs in independently, and when you log in, the page you see and the progress reports you see are all yours and all relevant to you. So here you can see I'm Caroline, this is what I've been doing, these are the sample lessons that I want to work with. And whether I'm logging on from school or from home on a mobile app or a desktop computer, Speak2Go will always take me back to where I last was. Right, let's have a look at it. We've got a nice lesson here. Told you I like intermediate. So the way Speak2Go works is it starts by building basic vocabulary and familiarity with that vocabulary. So here you see the word smart.
Smart.
You hear our lovely narrator Alice speak the word smart, and as you can hear, she's got very nice, clear pronunciation. Then have this little microphone here. Smart.
Smart.
You speak the word, and you can see here you get individualized feedback on each of the phonemes within that particular word or sentence. That's on the left side of the screen. On the right side of the screen, this little green tick says, Caroline, that's great. I know how you've pronounced before and you are doing better than before, so keep going. You see a red cross, it means, Caroline, I've heard you do better before, try again. So everything is driven towards encouraging students and helping them progress. What I tend to find in a class, let's see if I can do this.
Volunteer.
That's not really. If you mispronounce something, you get this red feedback and the kids respond really well to it. To begin with, they're thinking, why am I getting red? What's going on? But they go and click this little button. And they realize that actually they're not pronouncing as clearly as the narrator. And you see boys especially, they flick between listening to their recording, listening to the narrator's recording, and then trying again. Volunteer. Try again. Volunteer. There we go. All right. Normally you'd be using it with a headset and microphone. I'm using the computer microphone, so it's a little bit playful. Okay, so after the word section, you want your students to be sure that they actually understand the words that you're teaching them. And in order to do that, we go to Quizlet. What we found was that students would learn vocabulary and they could speak vocabulary, but they could only use it if they actually understood what it meant in their Svat M, in their mother tongue. So this works both in Hebrew and in Arabic. You can change the settings for each user, but it allows the students to play all of the Quizlet games and learn the meaning of the vocabulary from the lesson, which means that when they go back to the lesson, they have a greater understanding of what they're learning.
You're smart to wear a hat in this weather.
So now we start building, and this is already teaching a great strategy that students can use when it comes to the oral bagrut and in life. We're teaching the students to take the vocabulary and to use it in a correctly structured sentence that is potentially in context. So it works on the same principle. You hear the narrator.
You're smart to wear a hat in this weather.
You're smart to wear a hat in this weather.
You're smart to wear a hat in this weather.
Okay, so I pretend that's great. I've mainly got green. On the right, my tick is saying to me, yeah, that's fine, keep going. And I can progress to the next question. And you can see here
It feels like autumn, so let's take a coat.
There's also yellow feedback, which is your Ben on it saying, that's okay, keep going, but just keep an ear out. Make sure you're actually pronouncing this clearly. And the kids find the colours just straightforward. Red, yellow, green, it means something to them. Yellow, orange, it means something to them. It's not a sound wave, it's not a crazy pattern that they need to understand. It's just at the right level to give them a quick look sort of feedback to help them decide, can I do better? Do I want to listen again and re-record? Yes, no, and then I'm going to progress. Okay, so just to reiterate, you've got the word section, you then Quizlet, and you then go into speaking sentences using the vocabulary. Okay, some students may actually stop there. That may be the extent to which at the beginning of the year they use Speak2Go. It may be enough for them. Other students, and this is where supporting a heterogeneous class is Speak2Go is so beneficial. Other students may progress to the listening.
John Allen has 4 children.
Okay.
What do John...
I'm not going to let you listen to it, but you have an audio recording there. It's just audio. There's no written text on the screen. You're listening to Alice. She's speaking a passage in the same as they would do with the Meitzab. And then the students have to answer questions on it. If they want to go back and listen to the audio recording, the listening part again, they can do, and as many times as they want and from wherever they want. It's all about absorbing English and understanding what they're being told. So as I say, not every student will be able to do it, especially not at the beginning of the year, but as you progress through the year, as English standards and speaking confidence improve, students can come back to it. So the beauty of, let's just quickly play this.
John's children love.
Okay. They love computers.
They love computers. Sorry, wrong answer.
Okay. So I've spoken a wrong answer, but you saw I got feedback on my pronunciation. I got the tick, the overall pronunciation based on how well I'm doing compared to my other pronunciations. And I got a lady going, thumbs down, that's not so good, try again. So what the computer does is it pushes the correct answer, so it's the only answer on the screen. So we want everybody to be confident speaking. I can listen to the answer.
His children love ecology.
Because some kids don't necessarily choose an answer on information, they choose an answer on which looks easiest to speak. I speak my answer. His children love ecology. His children love ecology. I get my feedback.
Well done.
And I get a nice well done. So this is how the listening conversation works. And you can see here it says 5 out of 6. It means there are only 6 questions. It's not too intensive. Even if a student wants to try 1 or 2, they can. There's no limit. The way teachers tend to work comfortably with Speak2Go is they like to see the word section completed. They like to see the speak section completed. And then it really is based on each student's own ability and performance as they grow and develop.
What do you like to do in your free time?
Okay.
Do you write in it when you are happy or sad?
So you can see I've done a few of these questions already. So what do you like to do in your free time? This is a great way to build up speaking confidence with a kind of a no issue, no wrong answer dialogue. We don't ask the students to think of an answer, we give them the answer. It uses the vocabulary that you've been teaching them in this lesson. It gives them a correct sentence, a correct response to the question or the statement that they've heard. There's no way for them to kind of fall and trip and to damage their confidence. And the way it works is students can give one answer. Let's just actually, push on here.
What else makes you feel happy and special?
My friends care about me, so I feel special. My friends care about me, so I feel special. I can give one answer. I can give 2 answers. I can repeat an answer, whatever else, but it's just, I've been asked a question. I'm not going to give a monosyllabic response. I'm going to give a fully structured and correct sentence, and I'm going to use my new vocabulary to do it. It's a great, great confidence builder. And for those of you who work with the oral boggart, you can see already the strategy that's being taught here about answering fully and correctly is a great strategy for the oral boggart. And then each student can see their progress. They love to see this. They love to see how they're doing. They love to see where they've got more to do. And you as a teacher also get to view this for every student. But you'll see every student when they've finished will go here and they'll look and go, oh, I didn't quite finish speak. They click on speak and they'll go back to speak.
I rarely see my...
You find the students are very driven with the technology. Okay. Right. So I showed you the dashboard. This will be the same for each student every time they log on. Personalization. If you've got a child that's really not sure if they want to try this, personalization is what pushes them to try. Speak2Go learns the pronunciation of each user and it gives feedback according to that user's speech. It's that simple. It's like having a teacher sitting in front of you who is completely focused on you and nothing else. And every time you log on, that teacher remembers everything you've said and can use it to give you feedback on how you're progressing. And just as a teacher would help somebody progress, if you have somebody who is constantly getting green and it becomes a bit easy for them, Speak2Go takes their base level, raises the required level to get green, and suddenly that student actually has to work a little bit harder in order to get the green responses. So Speak2Go is individually suited and it works according to ability and progress. So just to recap, you learn words, that's 3 repetitions of each word. They see it, they hear it, they speak it, and they do it repeatedly. It's a great way for them to internalize and remember that vocabulary. You have the speak section. They take each of the words they've learned and they put them into a correctly structured sentence. It's more repetitions. And then for those students who can, and whenever they can, you've got the listening comprehension, which is great preparation for your mid-South and Bagrut exams. And you've got the conversation, which is such a nice way to understand that when I'm asked a question, I can't just say yes or no or Okay, and you've got Quizlet there as well. And you can see here, you can see Quizlet in Hebrew and in Arabic. All right, well, we tried a lesson. So here you go, a nice guy with our Speak2Go app, and kids can use Speak2Go anywhere. Sorry, it's a web application. Speak2Go can be used anywhere in class and at home. And after the Chagim, we will be launching our new teachers reporting pack, which means that if you set Speak2Go for homework, you can monitor who has done it, who hasn't done it, and how well they've done it. So it's a great way to kind of boost extra practice and also ensure that your students come to class a little bit more familiar with what you want to teach them. So you're already learning at a slightly sort of higher level. Okay, so what now? I want Speak2Go for my students. I hear it a lot, the team hear it a lot. English is not necessarily something that gets a lot of budget in schools, and you do have to push hard, and it's not easy. We're very happy to meet with your Menahelet. We'll come in, we'll contact them directly, we'll come in, we'll do a presentation. But it's important to stress that English is a life skill. It's not just getting your kids through school, through the Bagrut with good grades, but English is a life skill, and it opens doors, it creates other opportunities for our kids, and if we can support that from even an early age, that's great. There is always extra money in school to buy things that are going to make a difference, like Speak2Go. People talk about the Tashlume Horim. One of the examples I hear is, well, you can spend your money on a packet of bumba and a party, or you can spend your money on Speak2Go and have your students speaking English. There's an argument for everything, but the argument for Speak2Go is very strong. Okay, what does the Speak2Go package include? And it really is a package. A lot of schools we work with have said, great, we've bought technology in the past, but the people who supplied that technology then disappeared. So we do the opposite, and we are in touch with you, and we are available to you, starting with coming in and doing a full review of your IT infrastructure, checking your computers, making sure everything's working. What we want is that when you as the teacher walk into a class where you're going to be using Speak2Go, there are no computer problems, everything is working perfectly. And we'll work with your IT manager to sort that out. We give full support to teachers, we train you, we come and we'll spend a couple of hours with you, we'll explain to you how the product works, we'll explain to you how to combine classroom teaching with Speak2Go teaching, and there are so many ways how we can help you with lesson planning. We can also help train 2 assistants per class. So some teachers are not comfortable with technology, and it gives them peace of mind knowing that they've got 2 students in the class who've had extra training and can help other students if that becomes necessary. And well, not even finally, additionally, if you need us to, we will come in and be with you for your first and your second Speak2Go lessons, just to make sure that everything goes as smoothly as possible. Finally, we provide ongoing support for teachers. We have a team of teachers who work with Speak2Go. If you need help with anything, they are available to you throughout the year that you're with Speak2Go. All right, reports. So reporting, it's so nice to say this is something that was asked for by teachers, designed by teachers, and it will be a great support to all our teachers. We're going to be launching after the Chagim 4 new reports that will allow teachers to really see what students are doing, to monitor where they need help, to monitor where they're just not practicing, and to get the best out of their students. So we have usage reports. It's actually quick to hear. So a usage report is basically it's an ongoing report, so you can see what's going on with each student, with each class, even overall for the Manahel in each school. The progress report breaks down reporting into the grades for each unit. real-time reporting is great because it actually shows, it's like a kind of a live table of what each student is doing. So as they say another word, as they say another sentence, you can see the percentage of that lesson completed chalking up on your real-time report. And recordings. You want to know how your students are doing. You want to know that if they have an issue with speech and it becomes a repeat issue, that it doesn't frustrate them, it doesn't bog them down, but that you can actually spot it and work with them to help them progress. So just a sneak preview into those reports. So this is the class management report. And this, just again, by using simple color, you can see Reut in line 1, it says last login, 13th of the 8th. Great, it's green, that means Reut is using it. But you look at Yoram, he hasn't logged in for a little while, so we've got a report that says, red signal, you need to see what's going on with Yoram, he's not logging in. So if they've logged in the last week, they get green. If they've logged in between 1 and 3 weeks, they get yellowy orange. And if they haven't logged into Speak2Go and made any progress with Speak2Go in the last 3 weeks, you get a little red notification. Here's your class progress report by unit, so you can see which lessons students have worked on and what portion of those lessons the students have completed. And again, as I showed you with the summary, you can click on each unit and you can see how each student did in each unit. So for example, if you have a student like in this case, with conversation, they haven't completed very much, it might be worthwhile as a teacher just to check they're comfortable with having that dialogue and that conversation and hearing something and knowing which response they want to give. And this is your feedback on speech. So you actually get the last, I think it's 12 or 15 recordings that each student has spoken. You can click on the little speech icon and actually hear them, but it allows you to just keep on top of how students are progressing and where they're having problems so you can deal with them. And this is your real-time report. Very interesting. Teachers ask questions. They say, what if I've got 40 students in a class, but I've only got a room with 20 computers in and another room next door with another 20 computers? How do I divide myself and monitor that? Well, this real-time report allows you to do that. Even if you've got some students sitting on computers and others on notepads and phones, you can monitor what everybody is doing. Okay, so what do students think of Speak2Go? Honestly, they love it. They really like the personalized, private, one-on-one time. They have no fear speaking. You get a few reactions the first couple of times they hear their voice coming back at them. But when they realize it's inside the headphones and nobody else can hear and they can improve on it, they're motivated. There's a lovely story behind this guy, but really, he sat down when it wasn't expected. He plowed through everything when it wasn't expected, and he did well, and he went back and he used it again. So you can see from his face, he's happy with himself. And that's what Speak2Go can do, because it is personalized. And you as the teacher can monitor everything, and you know that what the students are working with is what they need to learn in order to do well. So, any questions? Before I take questions, just want to say, if anyone wants any more information, click on the website, info@speak2go.com, and your message will come directly to me. I'm happy to answer any questions and take you through anything in more detail. And also, please do watch the website, because we will be running webinars to look at each of the products that we cover. So the preparing for intermediate and intermediate level products for middle school, Speak Now for year 10, year 11 for high school, and in particular the oral bug root, which I know many of you are so keen to understand more about. So I'm just going to click to switch off my recording, and then we can take some questions.